In a hole in the ground, there lived a
Crystal. Are we?
Yeah, we're in.
Okay,
we're
cool,
doing it.
cool,
And
cool. I never know.
For the record, I am just gonna relish in this moment for a second because this is like the pinnacle of episode themes for me personally. What? Don't laugh at me! Don't you laugh at me! Because the next episode is your favorite stuff.
No, it ain't.
This one's mine, okay? And I'm just gonna relish in it because, guys, today you've probably seen by the title, and I'm sure we've at this point tweeted. I'm referencing us in the future. We're doing a Lord of the Rings episode. My favorite thing of all time. We're doing Lord of the Rings,
dude. Yeah, honestly, I never really thought it was that esoteric. I thought it was more like kind of Catholic, whatever. But after Nick sat me down, he was like, "Yo, this shit is so gnostic." Yeah. I'm pretty excited to dive into it.
Yeah, I've been particularly interested in Gnosticism lately. I don't know. We kind of skip hop between like a bunch of different topics, a bunch of different. I mean, dude, we talk about so many new age concepts in this show. And we just jump from one to the other, but for some reason, like Gnosticism, when I really started, because one of our earliest,
that was first episode.
Yeah, like
Let's
literally
get mystical.
Exactly, literally episode 1.
Shout out us in the past.
Shout out us in the past. You guys are doing great. Keep it up.
Yeah.
Nah, but we kind of breezed over it in the past, and like it was really cool. But recently, just from researching for episodes or whatever, we actually do a lot of research for the show. We try to make sure the stuff that we talk about is accurate. But something about Gnosticism just like really grabbed me.
It's because it's true, bro.
Well, yeah, but I mean, more specifically for me, it's because like what I literally did was I read the definition of Gnosticism, and then I started reading like the very earliest mythology and like the very earliest, Gnostic texts and stuff like that, because I wanted to know like kind of the story or the mythology or whatever you would call it, like from the beginning. And the thing that really grabbed me was like, hold up, I've heard this story so many times before.
Yeah.
You know,
and like in like a lot of fiction.
Yeah, like and not even just fiction, dude. Music, like
yeah.
I don't know. As I was reading, I just started getting hit left and right with just all these thoughts. Like, oh my gosh, this is that song, this is that band, this is it's obviously been a huge point of influence throughout thousands of years.
Yeah, so I'm just going to cut in here. For the listener who doesn't remember, we're like 4 months in. Episode 1, we talked in a little bit of detail about Gnosticism. What it is just the Greek word gnosis, which means like the secret knowledge. So Gnosticism is like the true ulterior history of Jesus Christ, where like there are texts that are dated authentically back to the life and times of Jesus, and they're like messages from him that are like the secret revelations of John, the secret revelations of Mary Magdalene, Judas Iscariot, et cetera, et cetera. And they tell this different side of Jesus that he wasn't, like the New Testament version. I mean, that shit comes from the Vatican, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
But the Gnostic texts are the ulterior story that I believe may actually be more correct.
Well, the wild thing is it's not just texts about Jesus. It
goes on after Jesus.
There are texts that suggest it was around before Jesus.
I mean, essentially, like my conclusion, we're not going to go into great detail about that in this episode, but my whole thing is like Gnosticism is just like basically the baby to Hermeticism. Like throughout the ancient past, there's a succession of the truth being hidden in various cultures. And like the one true doctrine probably came all the way back from Atlantis, which would be known as like the 7 Hermetic laws. Everything is vibration. Everything is rhythmic in nature, like a pendulum flows back and forth in nature. Cause and effect. Everything is part of this cosmic mind, everything has gender, et cetera, the 7 Hermetic laws. Gnosticism came from this ancient Egyptian / Atlantean teaching, and I really do believe that the true person, Jesus Christ, if he was a real person, went to Egypt, mastered these mysteries, and started his own new like way about it.
Yeah, I would say that the way to kind of encapsulate it is it's more like the telling of the archetype of Jesus.
Freemasons teach this shit, bro.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
But it's more like the teachings of like that archetype. Because if you look at the very earliest Gnostic scriptures, and we're going to get into Lord of the Rings in a second.
Oh yeah.
But this is a good preamble because kind of the angle of this episode is going to be, we knew you guys know the formula. We talk about the nerdy shit that we love, as it pertains to these New Age concepts, or this metaphysical, whatever you want to call it, this esoteric stuff. And so we knew we were doing Lord of the Rings, and I started doing the research, and it was just like right in front of my face that. It's Gnosticism. It's literally Gnosticism. So I was gonna do kind of like I did with the Marvel episode where I did like, manifestation and sacred geometry and magic. And I was gonna do all of that. Yeah. But I found so many parallels to Gnosticism. I spent hours and hours and hours just on that. But anyway, just kind of so that our audience understands just at least the basics of what Gnosticism is. It's just the concept that like there's an ancient force of evil, there's an ancient force of light. They're constantly in battle. And actually, we were just we were just playing Kingdom Hearts a little bit ago.
Yeah, Kingdom Hearts 3.
Yeah. It's pretty epic.
It's lit. Yeah, it's my first playthrough.
And I was explaining to Ryan that like the prophecy in that game is that darkness will win. And the story is about the protagonists trying to change that fate. That's what Gnosticism is. Like as I was doing my research, the prophecy in Gnosticism is that darkness would win and light would expire.
Dude, for the biblical nerds out there, this is just such cool history. We did say this in episode 1, but I guarantee you people forgot. So when you get into the book of John, if I was to call Billy Graham up, who is like one of the most famous Christian people in modern times. If I was to call Billy Graham, rest in peace, and say, Mr. Graham, if I was to get into Christianity, what scripture should I start with? He would say, start with the book of John, the gospel, right?
Okay.
According to like most sections of Christianity, the book of John is like the ultimate gospel. The funny thing is, man, when you get into the religious nerddom, academia, which is part of my studies and et cetera, you get into what is called the synoptic gospels. Matthew, Mark, and Luke. Those are the 3 that were probably written by similar sources.
Yeah.
And then it's accepted in academia that the book of John was most likely written by Neoplatonists, which is like Greek teaching people.
Plato, yeah.
And the Gnostic doctrine is heavily influenced by like the Neoplatonists as well. So what we're finding, honestly, like this is one of the biggest secrets ever that I really wish that people would be privy to. But the whole like modern, no disrespect to any one person, but shooting to the top here, the whole Vatican controlled Christian control system doesn't allow you to question like their version of Jesus et cetera, et cetera. But the idea here is that Jesus, the man, was synthesizing the mystery schools from Greece, Egypt, Tibet, Nepal. We talked a little bit about that in the Edgar Casey episode and so on.
Yeah.
But that's the crazy part is the Gnostic belief system is very much comes from Plato too.
Right, yeah. Yeah,
Plato,
for sure.
the Greek philosopher, he was like hundreds of years before Jesus.
And then, not just a lot of the philosophers of that time.
Yeah, for sure. But Plato's like probably the most famous philosopher of all time. But Plato in his writings, if you read his writings, or it could have been Aristotle, it could have been Socrates, I can't remember, writes about how the wisdom from Greece was, no, let me rephrase that. They're writing in this diatribe about how the Egyptian priests are like these masters of the mysteries, but the Egyptian priest in their diatribe is like, well, the priests of Egypt learned their mysteries from Atlantis. So I guess what I'm trying to hammer home here, this is going to sound so foreign to people that have no idea about this subject, but the Gnostic belief system is the secret teaching of Jesus, which comes from Egypt, which comes from Atlantis. Like this shit's real. Gnosticism is real.
There's tons of real actual like historical texts that corroborate this information.
Yeah.
It's not, we're not just pulling this out of thin air. We're not, this isn't stuff that people have, thought about. This is actual real history. And so there's some weight behind
the
it.
Templar Knights were into
truth
this.
to it. Yeah.
The Freemasons were into this. And then I really feel like this is important to say too. Like when you when you talk about Freemasons, I was one of these people. You Google Freemasons and it's like, oh, Illuminati, they're the most evil people in the world. They worship Lucifer, blah, blah, blah. But what I believe, I genuinely believe this, that these occult groups, a lot of them have their perverted belief systems or whatever, but then you have some that like they're, so to speak, hoarding occult knowledge. Dude, I've met with Freemasons, I've met with Rosicrucians, and they have this, so to speak, spiritual vibrational science. Like that shit works.
Yeah.
That's where I've learned a lot of this stuff that I talk about is some of these Rosicrucians and Freemasons and people of that nature. They're not all evil.
No.
The internet likes to paint this brush, like just because they're in this organization, which millions of people around the world are in. All Freemasons are evil. They worship the devil, blah, blah, blah. It's ridiculous. What they're really concealing from the world is sacred geometry, Gnosticism, Hermeticism. I really want to impress upon people before we dive into the nerd stuff that like this Gnosticism topic is very seriously guarded by the most elite occult societies in history. There's also something to it.
It's also probably the religious kind of thread or concept that pops up the most throughout history.
Exactly.
It pops up everywhere.
That's what I'm saying. It resonates.
Yeah.
It's
like,
the secret.
So earlier you mentioned like the Nag Hammadi. That's one of the main things. So this is a really cool tidbit, just like as a preamble before we dive into Lord of the Rings. There's a professor at American University of Washington, D.C., David Rodier, is like first of all, he's a disciple of one of the original translators of the Nag Hammadi scrolls.
Wow.
So this guy is connected to Gnosticism.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Sure.
Like deep connected. This professor is quoted as saying, there are 3 great books of Gnostic literature that I would recommend. This is him saying that. The Nag Hammadi Library.
Can I guess some of them?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm gonna make some guesses here. The Gospel of Thomas?
Nope.
Dang. The Secret Gospel of John?
Nope.
Dang. All right, I'm out of guesses.
So Nag Hammadi Library, you're gonna love this.
Okay.
Alice in Wonderland.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, I was talking like the real ancient texts.
And the Lord of the Rings.
No way.
Absolutely. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, because
so are we doing an Alice in Wonderland episode now?
We totally should.
We should.
We absolutely should.
We really should.
We talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
We're
at least off air. We talk
off
about
air.
it all the
time. But I think in one of the past couple episodes we recorded, we mentioned that sometimes in order to get this information across the most effective way, it's to do it through metaphor and parable.
Exactly.
Sometimes
bro, this will blow your mind.
What?
Okay, so there's this occultist from the 1800s named Eliphas Levi. You know the picture of Baphomet?
Yeah.
Dude, he created that.
Oh.
Yeah. Now,
wow.
Again, I'm not like saying Baphomet is good and everybody
right.
should go like, focus their third eye on that shit.
Wow.
But
that's a
but I'm just saying, like, I study everything. And Eliphas Levi, although he's a weirdo, he also came up with the very famous like Seal of Solomon image that's in the movie As Above, So Below. Mm-hmm. You haven't seen that, dude?
No.
You gotta watch that. That is great.
I'm a newbie to horror movies.
Yeah, dude.
So
I
gotta work up to that one.
I'll initiate you. But As Above, So Below is one of the best occult horror films out there. And that image of the Seal of Solomon, which is like basically this As Above, So Below picture, that's in the movie. And one of Eliphas Levi's most famous quotes. You ready?
Yeah.
Allegory is the mother of all dogma.
See, that's what I'm talking. That's
exactly what you just. Yeah,
exactly
that's real occult stuff.
Yeah,
that's real.
Yeah. So yeah, Lord of the Rings. Really, we're talking about Middle Earth. It just so happens that the most popular.
That's the world, right?
Right. Yeah. Okay. Which, interestingly enough, Middle Earth. There are many other mythologies and texts that describe this middle realm. Midgard, yeah, which is Norse. Yeah. It's sort of this realm between the divine and the void, or between the divine and the physical world. There's always this realm that kind of like teeters the edge of the purely physical and the divine. Middle Earth is the exact same way. In the Lord of the Rings books. Also,
damn.
Yeah, it's wild. Also, one of the things about Gnosticism is the God deity in Gnosticism. In pretty much all the Gnostic texts, the God is like hidden. Like
it's quite literally the cosmic mind.
Right.
That's why I say that.
And
I didn't make that up.
That's why it's like quote unquote hidden. It's because it's not a physical entity.
It's the God above God is what they call it.
Right. It's not an entity. It's not a thing. It is everything.
Yeah.
And so in
it's the eternal mind, and we're all little thoughts inside of it. Or Thoth.
Thought.
The Egyptian Thoth. Yeah, that's what that is. Yeah.
So it's just there's just so many parallels. There's so many connections.
You want to know a sick one, dude?
What?
Okay, so one of the main symbolism behind like Templar Knights and Freemasons is the black and white checkerboard, right?
Yeah,
that's the concept of duality. It's one of the 7 hermetic laws that everything is dual. Everything has opposites. There's light and there's dark.
Right.
You know, that's why the chessboard. It's very Masonic imagery. It's black and white checkerboard. Now this is real history. The ancient Templar Knights created like what we know as the banking system. And they had this system where if you were like, they were around like 1100, 900 AD, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So like if you were a traveling merchant and you had this wealth on you and you wanted to go from Jerusalem to Damascus or something, and you didn't want to risk being robbed or lose all your wealth, you would approach the Templar Knights. And they were real knights. It wasn't just like a secret society. They were real knights. And they had this secret occult system where they would have a piece of cloth with like the checkerboard pattern, like on chessboards, race card, flag stripes, etc., etc. That's where checks come from. Because you would take that cloth and it would have a code and you would give them your wealth, you would deposit it, then you travel whatever your journey is, and when you reach the next Templar checkpoint, you give them the checkerboard pattern cloth and they would give you your wealth, and they'd take like 10% or whatever off the top. And that's how they got so rich.
Oh, so you mean checks as in like writing a check?
Writing
like,
checks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but
wow.
also checkerboard.
Yeah.
That's extremely esoteric. But the checkerboard, if you get into the metaphysics behind it, it's exactly what you just said. It's the eternal duality between light and dark.
Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah. So talking about like the hidden God, a lot of you, if you've like read or seen the Lord of the Rings movies, it never like explicitly talks about like a god, or like a higher.
Not in the movies.
Right. And also, to be fair, not really in the Lord of the Rings books either. There's like a precursor creation story book called the Silmarillion, which covers like the entire creation of the universe. And in that, it talks about how the creator of all, which is this energy that existed before everything, he's called Eru Iluvatar. He created a race of like divine beings that were like him, almost like little gods. They're kind of like just a step below him, which, by the way, in Gnosticism, it is the exact same concept.
The archons.
The
aeons.
Yeah, the eons.
I got that confused.
The eons. The archons are. We'll talk about the archons.
That's like the evil ones, right?
Yeah. The whole like purpose of the archons is to like prevent souls from leaving Middle Earth or leaving the physical realm or whatever.
You ready?
What?
It's Agent Smith in the Matrix.
Absolutely.
That's
He's
the
preventing
archons.
them from leaving the Matrix. Exactly.
Yeah. Or it's the CIA.
Yeah, that's the archon's job, is to stop souls from leaving the physical realm. And interestingly enough, there are those that hypothesize that the ring itself represents the archons.
What?
Like the ring is...
That's sick.
I mean, think about it. And for those of you who may not know, the story of Lord of the Rings is there's this one all-powerful ring that basically controls the fate of everybody, in Middle-earth. It's the wielder of the one ring is like, ultimately powerful and can control, the other rings of power at will. And so, yeah, there are those that suggest that is an allegory for the archons, like, tying you to this material realm, because in the story, like whoever, sees the ring or is around the ring becomes obsessed with it.
They get like corrupted. And
they like have to have, the ring. They won't let it go. But no, the eons. Yeah. So in Gnosticism, there's the hidden God, and then he creates like this lesser God sort of thing. And what's funny? I'm pretty sure we've also talked about this previously, but There are those that suggest that, like the Bible, for instance, like the Old Testament is one God and the New Testament is another God.
Yeah, you want to say some deep stuff right here, right now?
Sure.
So the Old Testament would be what the Gnostics called actually Satan. Yaldabaoth, the false god, the false ruler. And what's crazy about that, when you get into what Jesus actually said in the New Testament, you get into, can I go deep?
Please,
Okay.
yeah.
So
That's why we're here.
when you get into what Jesus actually said in the New Testament, he was condemning the Pharisees and the Sadducees, which are like the priestly class. They're the ones who like condemned Jesus to death. And he literally told them, like, your father is the adversary, the liar. Who's their father? That's Yahweh, Yaldabaoth, whatever. And then you get deeper into the New Testament and you find out that Jesus, and I asked Dr. George Zervos, like a very heavy hitter religious scholar. By the way, he literally works on the Dead Sea Scrolls. Like, he's like that professor you just quoted from Washington, D.C. This guy's equally as credible. And I asked him, I was like, George, does Jesus ever even reference the Old Testament God like by name as being his God in the New Testament? He was like, no, that can't be proven. And and there was a whole split in the ancient past. Like the real history that people don't know about because they don't know to know about it is that for real, Jesus was walking around teaching about reincarnation. That's in all the Gnostic scriptures. The summary there is like you're just literally like reincarnating until you learn the gnosis or the secret that you are reincarnating and you are a fractal tiny piece of that infinite cosmic mind or the God above God or whatever. And when you learn that secret, so all of you who've heard that now, right now as you're listening, you've just been initiated into like the ancient esoteric secret that you are a fractal piece of God and you are reincarnating until you figure that out. Now, if you accept that and go forward, you won't have to reincarnate again.
Well, I mean, I would argue it's not quite that easy.
That's the whole crux of Gnosticism. You
Right.
have to learn that secret, but you have to take the steps and walk the path.
That's
the other half.
Well, I hope it's that easy.
It's not just
we all hope it's that
I
easy.
should definitely take a step back. It's not like Southern Baptism where once you're saved, you're always saved.
Yeah, I know.
You know what I mean? It's
Literally,
not like
yeah.
that. Then the whole program of Gnosticism teaches you how to like reach higher states of consciousness, and that's equally as important. But that's the crazy thing. So then you go even deeper into the whole like the Gnostic, and they also were called the Marcionites and the Ebionites. That's real historical Christian groups who are separate from like our canon version of Christianity now.
For sure.
And in the past, they were saying the same thing as the Gnostics. Like, the God of the Old Testament is Satan. Jesus was talking about a new God. By the way, they say Amen like 74 times in the New Testament when they're praying. Amen. What are the beings tell my Father? Amun-Ra is the hidden one.
The hidden one.
Yeah,
the
and then
hidden God.
And then the hidden God. That dude.
The hidden one.
Remember, bro. Gnosticism comes from Egypt.
Listen, I don't think there's any correlation here. I don't think there is, but maybe we could ponder it and find one. Saruman, Amun-Ra, Saruman. I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe.
Because
I would
obviously,
not put it past Tolkien.
right, because obviously Saruman is like the antagonist or one of the antagonists of the story.
Right.
But it is interesting. It's literally just Amun-Ra with an S.
Yeah,
Like
true.
it's literally just that.
But dude,
And yeah, there's also a ton of parallels between Gnosticism and like Buddhism.
yeah, dude.
And it's all about like reaching
Reaching higher states of consciousness.
enlightenment. Yeah, you have to walk that path. You have to let go of your fear, your doubt. You have to let go of your earthly attachment.
You have to be a Jedi.
Yeah, exactly. Man, we're hitting all the cylinders.
Yeah.
We're talking Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, and Kingdom Hearts,
And Matrix.
and Matrix, and
Alice in Wonderland.
We did mention briefly Alice in Wonderland.
Yo, I know somebody
Yeah.
who tripped on mushrooms and watched Alice in Wonderland, and they clapped and gave it a standing ovation, and they realized that you are Alice when you watch the movie.
Yeah,
I never knew that.
Yeah, that's the same thing. That's why there's so many Alice in Wonderland references in the Matrix.
That's hilarious, dude. You
Yeah.
are Alice. We're
Yeah.
all Alice.
But yeah, so it's this story of like the purification of the soul.
Yeah.
That's what the cycle.
Bro, that's
is.
alchemy.
Yeah, the cycle of reincarnation.
Turning lead into gold. That's the metaphor.
Yeah.
It's not literal.
right. It's
Refining your consciousness.
You're turning the material into the ultra material, like the spiritual. You're turning the material into the spiritual.
Transmutation. It's mental. It's inner.
It's mental, isn't it? That was a genuine laugh.
Did you just grime rap me?
I did. I did. Listen, I love grime rap, so I don't want to hear no hate. but yeah, I love all the parallels about, reincarnation, the enlightenment, purification of the soul, because that's what Lord of the Rings is about. Like the specific story in the 3 books. Well, we'll include the Hobbit, so the 4 books, that encompass the story. And one of my favorite parallels. So Gnosticism, and we mentioned this in briefly in the last episode. There's the very earliest, or one of the earliest teachers of Gnosticism was Valentinius.
Yes, that was obviously much later after the text had been written.
Right.
He was kind of like one of the main people in the ancient past who gained a following teaching about it.
Yeah, and kind of one of his cornerstones for his teachings of Gnosticism was that there are 3 different types of souls. There are 3 different archetypes of souls, if you want to call it that, and those are predetermined, predestined at birth. And yeah, we mentioned this before, but those are the pneumatics, the psychics, and the helics or heletics. And that's maybe one thing that I don't vibe with a ton about Valentinius.
Yeah.
Which is that you don't have a choice. You know what I mean? You're just kind of predestined, predetermined to have that type of that, whatever soul you're born as, that's just what soul you have. So even if you wanted to reach enlightenment, you couldn't maybe. But there's a lot of concepts in Gnosticism that kind of beg for you to defy them. Like we said, Gnosticism says that darkness will win. Darkness will eventually win. And the entire kind of epic of Gnosticism is people proving that it doesn't have to win.
Exactly.
That light can win. If we just do our part, light can win. And so I don't know. I kind of like that. It's almost a parallel there that Valentinius said, oh no, I mean, if you're born as this type of soul, that's it. But maybe that was a weird kind of subtle programming type way to make people be like, well, I don't like that. If I want to be this, I can be whatever I want to be.
Wait, so you said Valentinius taught that the darkness will win?
Well, no. Gnosticism teaches that the darkness will win. But
do you recall? I'm not trying to press you, but do you recall which text says that? Because there's 100 texts.
Oh, the Nag Hammadi scriptures say that.
There's 100 of them.
Yeah, the library, the entire library,
okay.
The majority of the Gnostic.
Because I know it might be in the Secret Apocryphon of John the Revelator. Maybe I could be getting that confused with one of them, but ultimately what I gathered from what Jesus was saying in Gnosticism is this is like a prison planet. Funny that's Alex Jones's whole slogan. He knows about Gnosticism. He talks about it and shit.
Yeah.
That this is a prison planet, basically, you incarnate into here. Okay, so essentially what the Gnostics teach to even reduce it further is that this is hell.
Yeah.
This realm is hell,
Mm-hmm.
and you're trying to escape this realm.
Mm-hmm. Which is similar to some Christian teachings. A lot of Christian, they say that Satan is the god of earth.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. But that's the crux of the whole Gnosticism thing is this is hell. You are trying to learn the secret that you are incarnating into a hellish realm of suffering and whatever, so that you can transmute your inner consciousness and not have to incarnate into this realm anymore. That's just one way to explain the truth.
Yeah, for sure.
That's one metaphor. It's all metaphor. The truth is only metaphorical.
But I find that, or at least I think that with the whole limitation in Gnosticism of saying up front, of kind of the preface being the darkness will win, that just makes the light want to try harder to defy that. And that's the entire concept, is that you don't have to be a slave to the fate. And so I wonder if Valentinius was intentionally kind of trying to maybe program people to want to defy that. I don't know. But what's really cool is, we're bringing it back to Lord of the Rings. In Lord of the Rings, the battle between good and evil is never truly won. It's never.
Yeah. It's eternal.
In fact, the movies and the books take place in the third age of Lord of the Rings, and each age happens when the darkness is defeated. A new age begins. When the darkness is defeated, a new age begins. And then, 1,000 years, however, an indeterminate amount of time into that age, it's like the darkness finds a way to creep back into the world. And it's almost...
It's like the harmonic convergence in the Legend of Korra.
It is like that. Yeah.
Like every...
It's also kind of like... the way that I tend to think about it, me and you had a really deep conversation the other day about like fear and darkness and dark spirits, dark energy, and stuff like that. It was so cool because like we were talking with our friend Jacob. Shout out Jacob. He's such a deep thinker, dude. He really he provokes really deep thoughts in me too. Like we got to have him on someday.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But he mentioned like if this is all like a consciousness matrix, and if we're all pieces of the eternal God, then like I don't think there is a such thing as like dark spirits necessarily.
Yeah.
He's like, I know that there's darkness in people.
Yeah.
But my point is, in saying that is the conclusion that Ryan and I pondered from that. What I said to Ryan was, I wonder if dark spirits do exist, but they exist as egregores, created from the fear and darkness in people's hearts.
Bro, you spoiling my anime episode.
Oh, I am. I didn't know that.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, no. I'm gonna go into Jujutsu Kaisen and egregores.
See, that's
what the whole show's about.
That's one I know almost nothing about.
Oh my god,
stoked
dude.
to hear you talk about that
for sure, dude. That's gonna be fun. We're gonna record that next. So as you're hearing this episode now, next week's episode will be super esoteric anime.
Yeah, that's gonna be so dope.
Yeah.
But no, yeah. So I kind of was thinking along the same lines as Jacob, is like, if we're all like pieces of God and we're in this consciousness matrix of positivity and high vibration, like why would there exist like dark spirits? But then the more I thought about it, fear, just like positive thoughts manifest positive things, negative thoughts manifest negative things.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, if we're following that thread,
that's true. That's the secret truth. But I do want to just like put my hand up real quick and say this for the listener. I don't want any of you listening to think that Gnosticism is the literal truth. Here's where I'm coming from.
Right.
I think that every religion in the ancient past truly are systems of consciousness, of magic or whatever that people have developed that have genuine elements of the truth. I think Gnosticism is one of those mystery schools that was very close to the core truth of this reality. But I would urge people to go even farther back into the past, to Egypt, Hermeticism. Like Gnosticism is very metaphorically resonant with true concepts, but it is not the end-all be-all truth.
I mean, everything we talk about is metaphorical.
Exactly.
All these ancient texts that we go over, all the metaphysical and
there's
esoteric...
core truths in Islam, there's core truths in Taoism, in Hinduism, in Christianity.
Yes.
But then you go to the secret versions of those religions. Like Gnosticism is the secret Christianity.
Yeah.
Sufism is the secret Islam. etc. And then you have Kabbalah, which is the secret Judaic religion.
By the way, Sufism also describes a middle realm. Like so
they're
many
very
others.
similar.
Yeah.
And then you have Hermeticism, which is the true original religion.
It would be considered. It is.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is the prime teaching of,
that's right. We talked
all
about
of
that.
the occultists. Hermeticism, and where that comes from is Hermes Trismegistus, which is this mythological figure who may not have even really existed. But you have to understand, like, as the eons pass, these stories are told, and they're given these, whoever has been passing down these stories for thousands and millions of years, they're going to be, like, deified. They're going to be turned into gods. But in reality, it's just a truth that's been passed in secret for many, many eons and eons. Hermeticism is the one secret doctrine.
Yeah.
It's the Prissa Theologia. Gnosticism comes from that. So and what Hermeticism teaches, I really just wanted to lighten people up because, lighten up, dude.
Lighten up.
I wanted to lighten people up because we keep saying like Gnosticism says darkness will win. In my head, maybe people were getting like, oh no, there's no hope. But like Hermeticism teaches like, no, dude.
Well, no, the Gnosticism teaches that like the good in people's hearts and enlightenment, like collective enlightenment, like through that we can and will defy that ultimate, predestination or whatever you want to call it. Gnosticism is a story of positivity. It's a story of like triumphing over evil, even against like insurmountable odds, such as destiny itself. You know,
Damn.
It's like the ultimate hero's journey, the ultimate triumph story.
Yeah.
You know, it's It's meant to rile up positive energy in people's hearts so that, you know, we can change that, because as it teaches, we're in control. We're little pieces of God. So like we're in control of this.
Yeah.
Not some predetermined thing.
The alchemists of the Renaissance era were Gnostics and Hermetics.
Yeah, I mean that's what the story is. But
true alchemy is literally, it's like Eastern consciousness principles. You meditate, you look inward, and you relinquish your fears, overcome your ego. You just turn lead to gold.
yeah, I mean you're turning material to or material to spiritual, as we said earlier. Yeah, but I do want to dive a little deeper into the soul types, because we've kind of like breezed past it a couple times. So yeah, you have the pneumatics. We'll break them down one by one. The pneumatics are like, I guess what you could say are like the enlightened ones. Like the pneumatics are the ones that are basically like living in the world of the divine. They're not, I mean, they're still of the material world for a short amount of time. They're here, but like their mind is elsewhere. Their mind is in the divine.
Yeah. Sounds like my dad.
I mean, it sounds to me like truly enlightened people. Like I don't know.
Like Hermes Trismegistus.
Exactly. Hermes, like when you reach true, and like the Buddha, you know, when you reach true enlightenment, that's a pneumatic. So you ready for me to tie it back into Lord of the Rings?
Sure.
So you have 3 main soul types. And in Lord of the Rings, there are 3 main races. The pneumatics would be the elves.
Oh, like the magical beings.
Well, yeah, but it's a little bit more than that. So the way that Gnosticism describes the pneumatic is it's someone who recognizes that this place is not their home.
Right.
This physical realm.
This physical place.
Yeah, this physical realm is not their home. This is not where they truly came from.
That's in the Gospel of John, bro. You're not of this world.
You're not of this world. Yeah,
That's literally written by Gnostics.
One of my cousins has that tattooed in Greek on him.
Wow.
You're not of this world. Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Is that your cousin John?
No.
Dang, I got it wrong.
Different cousin.
Okay.
But yeah, it teaches that. So Gnosticism also teaches that it's the pneumatic recognizes that they're not truly of this physical realm, and they are always longing, almost like this nostalgic longing to reemerge or remerge with their original, their true home, which would be the collective consciousness.
Right.
You know,
the true God above God, the collective energies.
Yeah. So the wild thing is in Middle Earth, in Lord of the Rings, there is a realm known as Valinor, and it's represented as an island in Lord of the Rings, but it's the holy place. It's where everything came from. It's where creation itself came from.
Wow.
And the elves long ago were banished from that place or removed from that place via, dark entities or dark interference. And though they inhabit the physical realm of Middle Earth, they are always longing to go back there. They're longing in nostalgia for their home, which is Valinor. The Undying Lands is what it's called. The Undying Lands.
Nice. So it's eternal. It never dies.
It never dies. It's eternal. Yeah. It sits they describe it as like sitting outside of space and time, but it's an island. That's
crazy, man. Because that's what the lady told my dad, and these beings. Oh man, I say the lady, for those who don't know, that's the entity we just, read, about the regression and stuff. But she literally told my dad there is an eternal realm that's basically where we go when we die.
It's represented in Lord of the Rings as Valinor. This was written in the 1940s, dude. How wild is that?
It's wild.
It's cool to mention that the kind of like the dock or the place that these boats carry the elves from Middle Earth to Valinor is called the Grey Coast, and the ships are called the Grey Ships of Valinor. It's almost like Gray is like, balance
of the light and the dark.
Exactly. That's what I gathered
Yeah.
from it. So yeah, the pneumatics are like the elves. Also, I would say the Maiar, which the Maiar are like
That's like Gandalf, right?
Gandalf is a Maiar. Also,
And the Balrog.
The Balrog,
Yeah.
So they're not inherently good. They still have free will.
Yeah.
The
Gandalf the Grey. I get it.
That's what I'm saying.
Damn.
And then when he becomes truly enlightened, he becomes Gandalf the White.
Bruh, this is blowing my mind.
He battles.
Qui-Gon Jinn is the gray Jedi. He's the first one to go into the Force.
There you go. That's a good
Damn,
point.
dude,
That's
right?
that's a really good point.
Yeah.
That's a really, really good
This
point.
shit's esoteric,
Yeah,
bro.
it's true balance. And,
Yeah.
and when Gandalf, he battled basically a dark version of himself.
Right.
A Balrog.
And he became light.
And he slew it. He died, and he was reborn
As light.
As
As
light.
a light being.
Gandalf the White.
Yeah.
Dude, come on.
Come on, dude. Dude,
So cool.
yeah, that's crazy.
So that's what I would say. Well, I mean, that's what many hypothesize. By the way, I want to say I read through lectures and I watched lectures of people talking about this too. So this
I took a class in college about J.R.R. Tolkien and C.S. Lewis, who were best friends. C.S. Lewis wrote Narnia. And like J.R.R. Tolkien was a freaking genius. So I wouldn't put any of the symbolism off the table.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's all legit. Dude, I was going to save this for the end, but I'm pumped right now. I want to tell you a little tidbit before we get to the next soul type.
Please do it.
Dude, this is wild. He himself, J.R. Tolkien, is quoted as saying, well, I'm going to phrase it my way first.
Sure.
The entire Middle Earth mythology, Lord of the Rings, the Silmarillion, the Hobbit, all of it was a psychic download.
What?
All of it.
How did he say it?
Here we go. What he is quoted as mentioning this as the origin. I'm not going to quote it word for word.
Sure.
But what happened was he was.
It would be super impressive if you could.
I mean, I have it written.
Okay.
I have it written down. Yeah, here I can do it.
Do it, man. Do it. I genuinely want to hear. I really want to know.
Okay.
Dude, I almost like Tolkien the man more than I like what he wrote. He's just such an interesting dude.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
He says, one day, one of my students turned in a blank sheet of paper for an essay assignment, and I began to doodle on it, and unbeknownst to myself, the reasons why, I wrote down a single sentence. In a hole in the ground, there lived a hobbit.
No.
Without even conceptualizing what a hobbit was or what type of hole I was describing.
Damn.
So hold on. This professor, because he was a professor, is just like chilling. One of his students who like obviously like probably got too drunk the night before and didn't do their paper.
Yeah.
Turned in a blank sheet of paper. And his mind, he's a thinker. He's a free thinker. He's a creative. So his mind is somewhere else. He's grading his papers. He's probably got bored and he sees this blank sheet of paper. He just starts doodling on it and writing and whatever because he's a writer. And he literally just downloaded in his brain. In a hole in the ground, there lived a hobbit. For those of you that don't know, that's the first sentence in The Hobbit. In a hole
Which is the first book.
Which is the first book.
Not Lord of the Rings, but The Hobbit.
Dude. What? He didn't know what a hobbit was.
Right.
He had never even thought about the word hobbit.
Yeah.
Why it would be living in a hole. And then the next sentence after that is like, not a nasty, smelly, wet hole of, blah, blah, blah. And then he describes like, it's warm, it's comfortable, and blah, blah, blah. And then from there, he literally just wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote. And an entire universe was created.
From what I learned
the reason that I brought that up is because, you mentioned there's so much symbolism and all this stuff. That right there proves he's tapped in.
Yeah,
he's tapped into
for sure, dude.
The collective truth, the collective consciousness.
Well, I mean, it's obvious, dude. His story is one of the greatest stories of all time.
Truly. Yeah.
And like what I learned about him in college was I think his mother and father died at a very young age, and he was like adopted as a child.
Mm-hmm.
And he grew up being a total nerd, and I mean that in the best way possible, just studying language itself.
Yeah, before any of the Lord of the Rings or Hobbit was made, he wrote the entire language of Elvish.
Exactly. And from what I learned...
Created a language.
Exactly. And what I learned in the course was that the whole, like, Lord of the Rings saga, the whole story he created just to develop this, like, multi-thousand-year explanation behind the languages he made. Is that correct?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it was, he created the language, and then he's literally, he's in class and gets this download, and he realized, oh, this is what I've been working on. This is all connected.
That's amazing.
It was like he was meant to tell that story as an allegory of what we're talking about. So, okay, we'll move on to the next soul type, which is the psychic. And most people, when you hear psychic, you think like Professor X,
right?
Like,
or 11,
from Stranger Things, like reading people's minds and making shit float or whatever,
Yeah.
But Gnosticism teaches psychics as like someone who is in between the divine and physical, sort of like the middle realm, like the Middle Earth, or whatever. It's like you're in between. So you are of this material world, and you're attached to this material world, but it's kind of like the mind has a hold of you. It's like the divine has a hold on you, and it's like this itching thing in your brain. It just like won't go away.
Yeah.
You can't stop thinking about it. You don't really truly know. It's like people who just have these premonitions that there's something more, and it's these mystics throughout time who dove deep and discovered these universal truths as they believed them. It didn't come from nowhere. They had to go and find that information, and they did it because they had this nagging feeling like there's more here. There's a reason that all this is happening. That would be paralleled in Tolkien's works by humans, by what Tolkien calls men. Yeah. It's people of mind and soul, people that stand between the corporeal material world and the true divine, between mind and matter.
Damn.
It's and think about this. The men,
like we are now, we're in the middle. We have a consciousness, but also a physical body.
Exactly. It's, and another cool thing is throughout the ages of Middle Earth, the men, the humanity is always forming alliances with the elves. It's like they feel that they're called to help, serve this divine purpose by fighting the darkness. They have their own interests. They have material wants and desires.
The elves.
No.
The men. Okay, I'm trying to track you.
They have great cities. They have power. They have kings. They have things that are truly physical and material, but they keep being called like this duty. They're called. They don't know why.
Right.
But when the elves need help, they're there to help, and they find themselves, ever enthralled by what is more than Earth. So that would be the psychic would be represented as the humans in Middle Earth.
Interesting.
And finally, you have the Helics or the Heletics, which are truly entirely obsessed with the material world, with the physical. These would be people in our life that, people who are obsessed with prestige, people who are obsessed with power, people who are obsessed with, just physical desire. And in my mind, my mind immediately goes to, really disgusting people like
Epstein.
That's what I was going to...
all of the politicians and celebrities in that circle. Yeah,
because think about the a common thread. I won't say they all do this, but I mean, it's really disgusting. But, think about they reach this pinnacle of wealth and they get all this money, more money than they could possibly imagine. And they realize like it's not fulfilling.
It's not enough.
What's the next thing they go to?
You got
Depravity. They go to disgusting sexual depravity and they do horrible things. And it's like they are truly consumed by the physical world.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah,
dude.
it's that desire for power, that desire for, physical prestige.
Yeah, and then they get all the money they want and they never have to worry about money another day in their life, and then they realize like I need something else.
Mm-hmm. It's never enough.
It's a corruption, it's a darkness. It's like people really
that's why Buddhism and other Buddhism and even Gnosticism, like the idea is like you shouldn't be trying to gain things. You need to be letting things go.
You know what's really funny about that, dude?
What?
This is totally relevant. So in the New Testament, Jesus says, like, basically, the meek and the humble will inherit the earth. Mm-hmm. Basically, like God is the God of the poor. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't think that means you have to be poor to go to heaven. First of all, I don't even believe in heaven. I think it's a metaphor.
Yeah.
But and then what's crazy about that is, remember, they say amen like over 74 times in the Bible to pray, which if you look at the etymology of amen, it means that which is hidden. People say, people say it means let it be true, but that's not true. Look at the etymology of the word, and it means that which is hidden. And then obviously the entity told my dad in 2012 that the hidden one is Amun-Ra. And then you go into the ancient Egyptian mysticism and you find out that those are all metaphors for consciousness. And where I'm going with that is when I started researching Amun-Ra, do you know what the name Amun-Ra means?
The hidden one?
The hidden one.
Yeah, so it's exactly what the lady told your father. It's the hidden...
But do you know the characteristics of ancient Amun in Egypt?
What?
The god of the meek and the poor. Just like what Jesus described in the New Testament.
Wow.
Yep. Jesus was talking about Amun-Ra. He was talking about consciousness, bro.
Yeah. It seems to be, there's this common thread that like you have to, in order to ascend or in order to be enlightened or what have you, you have to let go of your earthly attachments.
Yep.
Now, ready for some mind-blowing shit?
Yes.
Think about every epic fantasy, every epic quest.
Like Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, think about, let's even go to one of the very earliest epics, one of the earliest quests that there is, like King Arthur.
Jinx!
Yeah.
That was awesome.
King Arthur, yeah. What's the quest? Get the Holy Grail.
Yeah, get the Holy Grail.
What's the quest of the Princess in the Tower? Go get the girl. Get the girl.
Yeah.
Go get something. What's the quest of Lord of the Rings?
Go destroy the ring.
Get rid of something.
Right.
Get rid of your earthly bindings.
Wow.
Dude.
Yeah, that is mind-blowing.
The protagonists of this spend 11 years, I think it's around that, it might be 7 or so, spend years of their life, put themselves through perilous dangers, and literally like almost die many times, lose their friends. They go to the ends of the earth.
To destroy the power.
To get rid of something.
Yeah.
How Buddhist is that?
But take it a step deeper, dude. They have the one ring.
They have it.
They don't want to use it. They want to destroy it.
They want to destroy it. Yeah.
Dude, I never thought about that.
It's one of the only...
I never had thought... That's actually blowing my mind right now.
It's one of the only quests that is about getting rid of something.
Yeah.
It's like, it is the true embodiment of physical power. The one ring is the true embodiment of earthly possession, earthly power, and those who are around it are obsessed with it. I mean, dude, even Galadriel and Gandalf, when they were offered the ring,
they're like, no.
They freaked out. They were like, do not give me that, because I know without a doubt, if I even touch that thing, I'll basically bring ruin and decay and destruction to the world.
Yeah.
Gandalf said, like, it will wield a power too great and terrible to imagine.
Yeah.
He said that. If he had the ring, he said, if you give me this ring, it will be too great and powerful to imagine. Like, and Galadriel, she's like, so you would uproot the Dark Lord in place of a terrible, powerful queen, and then she showed Frodo what she would become.
Like in the Fellowship?
Yeah, this like ultimately powerful, dark, evil witch.
Dude, that movie came out when I was like 8, and that scared the heck out of me.
Oh, me too.
That was actually like kind of a scary movie.
So
the Fellowship of the Ring.
To cap off the Helic thing, what race do you think would represent those? Those that are obsessed
with the power,
with wealth, with material. The dwarves.
Yeah.
They're obsessed. That's all they care about. Dude, think about
they're always like mining for gold. That makes sense.
Only thing
that
they
makes
do.
sense.
You want to hear something crazy? In the mythology of Lord of the Rings, the dwarves came out of the ground. They are literally of the earth. They are literally exclusively of the earth. They come out of the ground. Like, all they care about. So the men and the elves have songs and hymns about, Valinor, about these beautiful divine, entities, about the Valar, the gods of the realm. The dwarves, their songs and hymns are about riches and wealth and and their king returning, and they literally live underground. They're quite literally like attached.
Isn't that
the
is that the second or the third Hobbit movie when they go into the like dwarven caverns and Smaug is laying like on the mountains of gold? That's
the second one, Desolation of
That's
Smaug.
A dwarven cavern, right?
Yeah, it's their home. It's the dwarven home. That's
just like hoarding gold.
That's what the dwarves do. Yeah. That's all they care about is gold and riches and wealth.
If you just to throw us back a little bit, you
Mhm.
know, around the same time when Lord of the Rings was written.
Mhm.
But if you hearken your mind back to Snow White, what are the dwarves mining for? Crystals.
You had to do it. You had to do it. We almost made it. We're almost done with this episode.
I know.
We almost made it.
Hey, on that note, dude, I did want to say something serious, but I didn't want to interrupt your flow because honestly, that was I really enjoy hearing the Lord of the Rings lore. It's one of the secrets to reaching higher states of consciousness. Like we get into, you know, the Gray Jedi or Gandalf the Grey. What do? This is extremely important, and everyone should understand this. Everyone should look this up. If you understand this, you cannot fail. You have to overcome your own shadow because you have to understand reality itself. Now, when I say reality, I think that means all reality, the divine realm, the physical realm, whatever, everything that's manifested and unmanifested. To me, that's reality. It's like, you know, it's the ultimate zoomed out observation or awareness of what is and even what isn't. To me, that's how I view reality. And you have to understand that, you know, if you just apply a little logic here and take the 7 Hermetic laws, which are true, right? And one of those laws is everything. It's the law of correspondence, which is that as above, so below principle, but also the law of duality. So think about this. Your consciousness even casts a shadow, bro. Your consciousness is like light.
That's deep.
But even your consciousness casts a shadow. And those dark, you know, if you have anxious thoughts, depressive thoughts, any kind of like dark thoughts, to me, the way I see it in my, you know, metaphysical whatever brain after seeing Beings of Light, and it did something to me when I was a kid. This is how I see things in my mind. But your consciousness has a shadow. You have to overcome that shadow.
Mm-hmm.
It's called shadow work. That's a real concept.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so I want to kind of like cap this episode off with a fourth race that we haven't talked about yet. So let's go back to the very beginning first so that I can
I was going to say real quick. I'm sorry, this is super relevant. I got lost in my own thought there.
Okay.
Which is, you know, a day in the life. But in order to overcome your shadow, you have to let go of your traumas.
Let go. Yeah.
Yes, let go of your traumas. Your shadow wants to look at you and make you hold grudges and make you say hateful or hurtful things to other people because they've wronged you, or make you be harmful to yourself and have negative self-limiting beliefs. You have to understand that your consciousness even is dual. That's the secret, the light and the dark, the checkerboard pattern.
Yeah.
Even us, even our spirit and our consciousness is dual. We have to reconcile those opposite parts, the light.
Everyone has light and dark in them.
Everyone has light and dark. Everyone is an eternal dance of light and shadow. And you have to understand that when you balance those two parts of yourself and you recognize, man, I've got some issues. Most people that I've ever met have egos, and they don't, you know, like especially in the South, dude, the culture here is whack sometimes. Where like people don't ever even want to acknowledge they have issues.
Oh, no.
You know exactly what I'm
taboo.
talking about, bro.
It's taboo.
Yeah, it's taboo. Like, suck it up, be a freaking man, grit your teeth. That's, at least that's, you know, how a lot of people in my extended family are. And you have to understand, reconcile with your shadow, overcome your traumas. That's where I was going to go with that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so and to that, with in the thread of letting go, I want to talk about one last race that we haven't discussed. So concerning hobbits, which is the name of a chapter in the book. I had to say that.
Yeah.
But think about the Hobbit. Think about hobbits. They
are short, sweet, and they sure are cute.
just like you.
Yeah. Wait, I'm taller than you.
By
like an inch. Yeah, it's like an inch.
But fair enough.
It's not even.
Fair enough.
Yeah, it's not a big deal.
What do hobbits do?
They eat 5 times a day.
They eat when they're hungry.
Yeah.
They sleep and nap when they're tired.
Yeah.
They do their honest work, and every night they get together and they laugh and drink and
party
and be merry. That's what they do. It's extremely Taoist. It's extremely Buddhist. It's you know, it's living truly free of desire. They don't have desire because they spend their lives doing exactly what they want in that moment. They are present. They are.
So they don't. So if I'm kind of like expanding what you're saying here, they don't suffer with like addictions and cravings to things because They are present in the moment at all times.
They don't care about. They certainly don't care about power. There are no hobbit like kings
and warriors and stuff.
and
like
warriors.
That.
No, there's none of that. They're way off in the green country. They stick to themselves.
Yeah.
And they're happy. They love each other. They spend time with each other. They like I said, drink, laugh, and be merry. And yeah, they're like Buddhists. So
yeah.
It could only have been a hobbit that could take the most desirable artifact in the entire known world, which represents the true attachment to power and physicality and material.
Yeah.
It could only be a hobbit that could take that and destroy it because they're not attached to that.
I always wondered, like, why hobbits? Why couldn't it have been like the elves?
That's why.
Or
Listen.
Aragorn? Yeah.
Like
why is Frodo
Gandalf,
the main character?
I don't know if you know this, but Gandalf has a ring of power.
I did not know that.
He has the ring of fire. He has a ring. Galadriel has a ring of
Is
power.
that in the movie?
Yeah. Yeah. It's in the extended edition.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, in the very beginning of the base movie too, the normal movie too, it says, what does it say? It says 3 rings were given to the elves. 7 rings were given to the dwarves.
9 to mortal men.
9 to mortal men doomed to die.
Which become the ring wraiths,
Which
right?
become the ring
The
wraiths.
Nazgul.
And so every
the
one
ring
of these
wraiths riding
people-
black. That's a Led Zeppelin lyric.
Yeah. By the way, Gandalf doesn't wear his ring, and I don't, in Galadriel in the books, at least, she doesn't wear her ring. And it's because they know what that entails. They have desire for it, and therefore they're trepidatious, but also because that one ring can control all of the rings. Many of those dwarves and men, they chose to wear those rings anyway, even though they knew that they could be controlled. But only someone who doesn't care about materialism, doesn't care about the physical world, only someone like that could take that burden and fulfill it. Yeah. That's the beauty of the story of Lord of the Rings. The meek shall inherit the earth. Yeah. What happened to Frodo at the end of the story? He was the first hobbit to pass to the Undying Lands. Yeah. Him and Bilbo, they went to the Undying Lands. They quite literally reached enlightenment. Right. They got rid of their earthly possessions. They truly sacrificed all material pull, all material obsession for the entire planet. It was like the true, most selfless thing that they could do because they weren't attached to it.
You know what's sad, man?
Only they could have done it.
Like when you get into the nature of addiction itself, like if we're going to be a little deep here, I believe that addiction comes in some way from fear. Think about it.
Oh, I could see that.
People who, and I'm not talking like you're sitting around just like afraid all the time, and that's why people have to get a fix, like, this or that or whatever. But it's like unconscious thought processes that you may not even register. Yeah. People who may rely a little too much on something in some way deep down in the shadow of their consciousness, they're afraid they're going to go without.
Yeah, exactly. And the hobbits don't have that. They don't because they don't have desire. They can't fear to lose something that they don't have. Right. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
And they don't care for adventure. That's like a point in the books and the movies. They don't care to go out and adventure. Why would they do that when they have everything they need right here? It's Buddhist, it's Gnostic, it's Taoist. It's for sure. They have no earthly attachment, and that's why it had to be a hobbit.
That's deep. What time we at, Alex? You want to end there?
Yeah, we're good to go. That's the perfect place to end.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Bye guys.
Weird things happen in the backyard of the Bledsoe house. See it hovering, but it's just in